Hi YouTube, Darth here. It's been a few weeks since my last update and I wanted to give you guys an idea of where I've been and what I've been doing. First off, I've been fighting a pair of back-to-back colds which have been seriously messing with my voice and ability to deliver voiceover for these videos. As is evidenced by today's video, I'm finally over those shenanigans. So in the time I wasn't making new videos, I was busy playing the new fall patch. And between the new map and Operation Outbreak and the rest of the changes, I have to say that I'm actually really enjoying myself and found it kinda hard to tear myself away from the game in order to make this video in the first place. The footage you see in the background is a round of Operation Outbreak I played slightly earlier this week. As I said, overall I'm having a lot of fun with the fall patch. And there are definitely some things I like about the fall patch, and there are definitely some things that I think could probably still use some tweaking. My top 3 favorite things that have been added in the fall patch are, in no particular order, the improvements brought to the game courtesy of Battlefield Hardline, which include the squad leader changes, so if you ask for squad orders, you'll actually be able to get squad leader if you have a crappy squad leader, and the minimap changes from Battlefield Hardline, including the outline stuff on the map that you see right now around the conquest point, and then also the changes to the soldier carrots. That's also very helpful, especially on maps with a lot of verticality. The next thing that I absolutely love that was changed in the fall patch, that I'll talk a little bit more about in this video, is the secondary Incendiary Grenade. This thing now completely wrecks infantry, especially when they think they're safe around corners. A third thing I'm enjoying in the fall patch is the passive radar missiles. Now I say enjoying because I'm not typically on the receiving end of it, and I'll explain in a future video as to why they're so good. And like the secondary Incendiary, if you haven't played with the passive radar missiles since the patch, you definitely should give them a try because they've definitely improved quite a bit in the fall patch. Now for a couple of things I haven't enjoyed quite as much as I thought I might with the patch. One thing I've noticed since the start of the patch is that I haven't been quite topping the leaderboards like I expected to in score, because I consider myself, despite being attached to this tank and not controlling where I'm going right now, quite the play the objective player. And I've actually been analyzing my gameplay quite a bit to try and get some insight into why that's going on. And something I discovered is that I actually try to defend the objectives quite a bit more than I try taking objectives. That is, if I see a blinking flag and I'm ready to spawn, I'm more likely to try to spawn on that blinking flag and defend it than actually try to go for a new flag. Something that didn't get changed in this patch that probably should have been is the number of points that players receive for defending a flag that the team already has. Before the patch, you would get 25 for defending and 100 for capturing. After the patch, it's 25 for defending, but 400 for capturing. And as a quick aside, you can see right here how that secondary Incendiary just really tears up people who think they're safe behind walls. But as I was saying, defending points is really not worth it as opposed to capturing points in Conquest. And having caught on to this recently, I definitely noticed a swing back upwards in my score when I started playing more offensively as opposed to defensively, but I have to wonder, is that actually ideal? Now I can put myself back at the top of the scoreboard if I'm constantly capturing flags, but if I'm not defending it, what's going to happen is a giant merry-go-round on the map where one team is constantly capturing flags and the other is constantly capturing the ones that have already been captured. And if nobody's defending, the game just turns into a giant merry-go-round, kind of like you see on Wheeling Peaks or sometimes Propaganda. I think this is probably an unintended effect of increasing the capture score without increasing the defending score. But I think that's my main gripe so far, and as I said, I've been really having a lot of fun with this patch. But now to get to the meat of this video and talk about how awesome the secondary Incendiary Grenade is. Holy cow, I wreck everybody with this thing. I like being in the secondary seat more than the primary now in the tank. I have another round slightly before this one that I played where I went 36-0 in the tank on Zavad Graveyard Shift. And that tank was controlled by a level 10 player, so he wasn't very good about where he was going at all. And I think part of the secondary Incendiary's power is nobody's really expecting it right now because it's not something that's been powerful in the game at all for the last 2 years. It has the same power as a regular Incendiary Grenade where it can go through walls, but at the same time you can fling far more of them out and have the regular firepower of the machine gun going at the same time. I used to always run Proximity Scan as the gunner because it felt like the superior choice for this player that needed to protect the tank at all costs. And there's a couple of times where I got out to repair this tank where I was really sad that I didn't have the repair perk, and I kept forgetting to put it back on even though I only died twice during the course of this match. I'm also doing a pretty big flub here where I got on the wrong side. I'm actually on the side where all the infantry are at, but I was kind of panicking at this point, and I'm like, I can't repair this tank faster than they're doing damage, so I'm just going to see what the source of this is. And I kind of got surprised by that tank right there. And it was pretty much just this hit squad out to kill our tank after we had gotten about 40 kills, 20 apiece in that thing. And they managed to take me out here, and it wasn't long after that that the tank went boom too. Now, just so you don't have to look at all black and white, I decided to include this bit where I was on foot as well, between where I was also in the secondary gunner, because we get back in there in a short while here, because this run doesn't last for very long. There's 2 infantry and a tank here, but that goes up pretty quick as there's an entire squad at this point, in addition to a bunch of engineers. The tank just blew up. Now we're down to just the infantry supporting me here, and they both died quick deaths. So I'm trying to find a little bit of cover to try to save my butt here. And I actually get kind of lucky here where I get into this building without the enemy seeing me, and I'm able to actually get quite a few kills here. One tries to head glitch me there. That doesn't work anymore after the spring patch. Please try again. And there are a couple more here where I managed to take them out and finally get taken down by a shotgun. Good old full choke. But back to the tank action. I wasn't super happy that our tanker took us right to this particular position, but I tried to make the best of it with that Incendiary Grenade, which is just amazing. I cannot speak highly enough of this thing. Like, it was good on the CTE, and now that I'm playing in 64-player matches consistently, it's insane. And you can get really dirty with it, and look out, roadkill right there, where you can just sort of lob it on the other side of a wall that you know somebody else is on the other side of, and just totally torch them alive. I get a ton of kills here just from that. There's a couple of accusations that are actually coming along the line here shortly. I'm not really sure where they appear, but needless to say, it's probably a little bit annoying when you get killed behind a wall by a thing that's on the other side, and there's no way for it to actually shoot through to you normally. I find the secondary is actually pretty effective on maps where you have walls and clutter and things like this that people like to hide behind. So on maps like Propaganda, on Operation Outbreak like this, Zavad, I'm trying to think of a few more, maybe the northern stretches of Golmud. It's not so good and out in the open, but honestly it's either this or the Soflam, I think. Open maps, the proximity scan is not going to do you too much good. Because on those open maps, I generally expect the C4 Jeeps to be coming after you as opposed to C4 on foot. And as you can see, we're about 200 tickets behind in this match, and we don't really do a good job of coming back or capturing points at all while we're in this round. I'm sort of along for the ride here, so there's really not a whole lot I can do. My goal in the tank at this point in the round is pretty much to just try and keep the tank safe and try to clear out as many of the enemy while my teammates try and capture the point. For most of the round, we only end up holding 1 or 2 points at a time. Typically the ones the tank is the closest to. Operation Outbreak is probably one of my favorite parts of the fall patch, and I have to give DICE a little bit of kudos for making me like a map that is somewhat larger. I find that there's actually a lot of good back and forth on this map as opposed to some of the bigger maps in the game. And again, you just watch that Incendiary just tick down and destroy people. It's so good! It's so good! Switch to it now if you haven't already. It's amazing. Back to Operation Outbreak, I've mostly just played Conquest on this map since it's come out in the patch. But I did have a little bit of an opportunity to play some CTF, which on 64 player was kind of an awful experience. I think in general there's a lot of map experiences the admins try to provide that don't necessarily conjoin with what the designers of these maps intended. For example, I happen to think that Rush works best with 32 players, but most Rush servers I see that are populated most frequently tend to be 64 players or 32 player hardcore, which is a different kind of special. Ultimately, most maps settle into a rotation that's either Conquest, TDM, or Rush. Aside from some very rare mixed mode game servers, I think it's kind of sad that there are so many game modes that have gone by the wayside in Battlefield 4. But that's a topic for a different video entirely. Overall, like I said, I've really been enjoying the fall patch, and I think it's been a wonderful addition to the game in a number of ways. I feel like the vehicle options and choices have opened up quite a bit. I don't think that the Stinger changes, or particularly the anti-aircraft missile changes, were quite the death knell to aircraft that players were predicting. In fact, I'd probably argue that I'm a lot more survivable in an aircraft now after the patch than I ever was before it. And then there's the icing on the cake of having free content 2 years after the game launched and about a year after we had to pay for our last content update with Final Stand. Will support continue into next year? That we'll have to see about. We know from multiple sources that DICE LA is working on a next-gen AAA title, which could be in the Battlefield franchise, it could be something else entirely, we have no idea yet. What the plans for Battlefield 4 are after the holiday patch we don't have any idea of either. As for my own plans, I definitely intend to continue producing Battlefield 4 content no matter what comes in 2016, and I'm also going to be augmenting that with likely a bout of Star Wars Battlefront content. But that really depends on the longevity of both games. Will Battlefront be a flash in the pan like Hardline was? We'll have to see. But we'll definitely know more about that in the coming week. But now that we've had a couple of weeks to munch on it, what do you folks think about the fall patch? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, YouTube. Which I swear won't be as long as it was last time. Probably.